everyone, it's Sonia from Blackstone Designs, and today I'm going to teach you how to crochet the Suzette stitch. I am using a worsted weight yarn. This is Loops and Threads Impeccable in the colorway Barley. You're also going to need an H 5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, and a yarn needle for weaving in the ends. This stitch is worked in a multiple of even numbers, but for the starting chain, you will also need a chain of an even number, and you'll see how that works out in the end. If you're learning this stitch as part of the New Year's New Stitch Resolution Crochet Along, you will need to start with a chain 42. For tutorial purposes, I will only be doing a chain 24. But again, if you are making the square, you'll want to follow along with those instructions. So let's go ahead and do the beginning chain. Okay. After you get your beginning chain done, you are going to want to single crochet in the second chain from hook and in each chain across. As usual, I like to do the back bump of the chain instead of the top loops. Okay, and from my chain 24, I end up with 23 single crochet. So you will end up with an odd number of single crochets for that foundation row. And then we're going to chain 1, turn. For row 2, we are going to half double crochet in the first stitch. And then we're going to skip the next stitch. And we will place a single crochet and then a double crochet into the third stitch. And that makes up for the skip stitch. We put the 2 stitches here, so it's not going to change the shape of the project. So again, we will skip the next stitch, and then we will single crochet and double crochet into the next. And as before, that skip stitch is made up for because we've placed a second stitch into that next one. So we will continue this pattern across the second row, skip a stitch, single crochet, double crochet in the next. Skip a stitch, single crochet, double crochet in that next one, all the way across. And then we will skip that stitch and half double crochet in the last stitch. So we're skipping the second to last and half double crocheting in the last. Like that. Now we will chain 1, turn. And essentially for the rest of the pattern, we are repeating row 2. But because of the way we skip stitches on the ends, you will have an even number of stitches moving forward. Also, it is worked just slightly different because the second row and subsequent rows are different from row 1. So this is how we work that. you will half double crochet in the first stitch. Then you will skip the double crochet, or skip that first one on the turn, and you will single crochet, double crochet in the next stitch, which is your single crochet. And then again, we are going to skip the next stitch, which is the double crochet, and we will single crochet, then double crochet into the next stitch, which is the single crochet. And so from here on out, all of your single crochet, double crochet combos will be worked in the single crochet stitches. So do that all the way across. And then you will place a half double crochet in that last stitch, which is the half double crochet. And this is the end of row 3. So now you will chain 1 turn, and you will repeat row 3 until you have your desired or needed height. For the Afghan square, you want it to get to 14.5 inches. For the gauge swatch, you only need 12 rows. And then if you're using this stitch for other projects, that is completely up to you. So there we did the half double crochet in the end stitch, skip the double crochet and do a single crochet, double crochet in the next single crochet, skip the double, single crochet, double crochet in the next single. So we're only skipping double crochets all the way across. And then half double crochet in that last stitch. And as you can see, we're building up this pretty lightly textured, it kind of gives it this bumpy feeling across. It's absolutely beautiful. And just as an example, this is the finished square that I've made for the crochet along, so you can get a better look at what the texture actually is. Now, if you're doing the Afghan square, you are going to want to finish off your piece with single crochets around the outside, which I should have probably shown you here. We did the single crochets all the way around. It gives it that nice clean finish, and it's going to make it easier for us to join the squares together in the end. So how I did this was I worked a single crochet in each of the next 2 row ends, and then I skipped a stitch, which is going to be a little harder to see on this swatch. So let me go ahead and put a few more rows on here so I can demonstrate the finishing. Okay, I have a few more rows on now, but before I get to that, I did want to back up a little bit and explain how I had told you we start with the even chain, but we will end up with an even amount of stitches. Because we skipped those single crochets when we added row 2, but then we did double stitches across. The half double crochets are 2 stitches, and then we have 2 in the clusters across. So as you can see, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 stitches, And then I have the half double crochets. So 21 and 22. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out. I also wanted to note that we start with the half double crochets on the end and only use them here because that's equivalent to the height we get when we combine the single crochet and double crochet into one stitch. It kind of cinches them together because there's such a height difference between those two stitches. That's also what's giving us the texture. So the half double crochet is the same height, and that's what's going to help us keep this uniform and square. So now back to the edging. As I was explaining before, I worked this in a way that I was doing 2 single crochets and then I was skipping a row, and then 2 and then skipping a row. So what I mean by that is if I were to place a single crochet here in this very top row, on the edge of the very top row, and then I did one in the end of the row below it, then I would skip this 3rd row. And I would do maybe a little bit of a longer loop and then get into this 4th row, single crochet there, and then the end of the 5th row, single crochet there, and then maybe skip the 6th row. And that's how I was doing it to keep an even edge, and it really helped not cinch things and not overstretch them. Then when working across the bottom, I didn't have any issues with that. You just single crochet in every row, in every stitch along the bottom. And see, I was doing a half weave of that tail as I went along, so I was working right over the top of it. And this is why I like to work in the back bump of the chain when I do the starting row, because it makes it easy to throw an edge on there. It's like its own stitch across the bottom. You've got the 2 loops, so just come under those 2 loops and easy peasy. All right, now I'm back to the other edge, so I would work it the same way. I will put single crochet in the end of this 1st row, and then the 2nd one, and then skip the 3rd, 4th and 5th, skip the 6th, and then we actually had 7 rows here, so I'll put one in the 7th, and then single crochet across the top in every stitch across. Now this looks a little different because we have the single doubles across the top and half double crochet. You will work in all of those stitches, all the way across. And then when we get to the edge, I do an invisible join. So we will cut the string, and then we will pull the string all the way through, and then you come from the front through the back and grab that string. Sorry, that is the 1st stitch on the end of the row. So you will insert from front to back under those 2 loops and grab that tail and pull it through to the front. Then you're going to come back to that last stitch across the top and come in under the back loop from the back, so that you're inserting your hook up through the center of the stitch, and you're going to grab the tail and pull it down through. And this creates the illusion that there's a stitch right here in the corner, and that's where we just kind of weave the tail through, but it looks like a stitch, and it makes it a nice even finish. And then you'll grab your yarn needle and you'll weave these tail ends through, and you want to make sure that you break through the tails. Just weave it really well. You can shape that corner as you go. And then when you come back up through, you want to make sure that you get through its own tail. So the string, that's going to help secure it in there. And that's just a quick overview. And then we will cut that off. And then with this tail, we will do the same thing. We will thread it and weave it in and out of these stitches and making sure to get through its own tail as well. And that just really locks it in and secures it. So we'll just weave through some stitches here, make sure that we are breaking through the threads and the tails and its own tail. And again, this is just a quick example. I would have a longer tail and weave more than that typically. Okay, and that's the Suzette stitch. It's absolutely beautiful. And no matter what colors you do, it's just as pretty. I can think of so many uses for this. I mean, I think this would be an absolutely gorgeous pillow, a handbag, a rug. I mean, just so many things you can do with this stitch. And it's reversible, so both sides are equally as pretty. And as you can tell, it would look great in stripes too. I hope this video was helpful for you, and I hope that you are joining us for the New Year's resolution crochet along. Can't wait to see your squares. Happy crocheting.